I heard my father's voice come out of my own mouth. My 3-year-old made the same face I used to make, that nobody really prepares dads for. Not because men are fragile, but because most of us were trained to convert fear into jokes, silence, work, or anger before anyone notices we are drowning. So before we get tactical, let us say the true thing plainly. This is hard, it matters, and you are not the only dad trying to look calm while your internal HUD is flashing red. There is a sound that came out of my mouth at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. That was not my voice. It was my father's voice. The exact intonation, the exact word choice, the exact volume. My 3-year-old looked at me with the same face I used to make at my dad when I was that age, flinching, eyes down, body small. I stopped mid-sentence. I sat down on the kitchen floor. I told her I was sorry. I told her I needed a minute. I went into the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror and tried to figure out what had just happened. Because what had happened, I knew, was that I had just transmitted something to my daughter that I had spent my entire adult life promising would stop with me. It had not stopped with me. It had come out of my mouth automatically in a moment of stress, in a register I had not chosen, with a phrase that I had not even fully realized was loaded. Today we are going to talk about that moment. The moment your father's voice comes out of your own mouth and you realize you have been carrying the cycle without knowing it. We are going to look at the science of how this transmission actually works, why willpower alone is not enough to break it, and the moves that the dads who actually break their inherited patterns are running. This is going to be the most personal episode I do. Stay with me. Let me start with the research, because what is happening when your father's voice comes out of your mouth is more mechanical than most people realize. There is a body of work going back to Bessel van der Kolk's research and reinforced by intergenerational trauma studies for decades on how emotional patterns transmit from parent to child. The mechanism is not genetic, exactly. It is procedural. Children, in the first 10 years of life, are encoding the emotional procedures their parents run. The way dad responds to frustration, the way mom responds to disappointment, the way the household handles a spill, a bad grade, a broken thing. The kid is not just observing those responses, the kid is internalizing them as the default response template. By age 10 or so, the templates are loaded. They live in implicit memory, which means they run automatically without your conscious intervention when triggered. You can have a conscious adult belief that you will not yell like your father. The belief lives in your prefrontal cortex. Under stress, the prefrontal cortex goes partially offline, and the older, faster automatic systems take over. The automatic systems run the templates from age 10. The template was your father. The template runs. Your father's voice comes out of your mouth. This is why willpower alone does not break the cycle. The willpower lives in the conscious system. The pattern lives in the automatic system. Under stress, the automatic system wins. Every dad I know who has tried to white-knuckle his way out of his father's pattern has eventually had the moment I had on the kitchen floor. The moment is not a failure. The moment is the data telling you that the system you were trying to override has a stronger, automatic mode signal than you thought. The fix is not more willpower. The fix is to update the underlying template, slowly, through deliberate work over months and years. The template was loaded over a decade. Updating it takes time. The good news is that it can, in fact, be updated. The data on cycle breaking is real. People do it. They do it deliberately. We are going to talk about how. I want to give you the second piece of research, because it is the one that took me the longest to internalize. The Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, started in the late 1990s, mapped a series of childhood adversities against adult outcomes. The findings, replicated many times since, were striking. Adults who scored high on adverse childhood experiences had elevated risks for almost every adult dysfunction researchers measure. Mental health issues, physical health issues, relationship issues, career issues. The kicker, for our purposes, was that the highest scoring adults were also the most likely to inherit and reenact the patterns of their childhood households, often in spite of explicit conscious intentions to do the opposite. This finding is uncomfortable for a generation of men who, like me, made silent vows to be different than our fathers. The vow does not by itself do the work. The vow is necessary but not sufficient. The work is what does the work. The vow is the starting line. What the data also shows, and this is the part that gives the work meaning, is that one consistently regulated adult in a kid's life can mitigate huge amounts of inherited risk. The kid does not need a perfect dad. The kid needs a dad who is doing the work. The dad doing the work, even imperfectly, is the variable that breaks the chain. 5 generations later, the great-great-grandchildren are running a different pattern because of the work the dad did on a Tuesday afternoon in a kitchen on a floor. Now, I want to do the personal piece, because the bathroom mirror moment was just the beginning of years of work. After that afternoon, I made an appointment with a therapist for the first time in my adult life. I had been promising myself for years that I would do it. I had been finding reasons not to. The kitchen floor moment was the moment I finally made the call. The first 6 months of therapy were uncomfortable in a way I had not anticipated. I had to look at my own father with more honesty than I had previously allowed. He had not been a monster. He had not been abusive. He had been, by the standards of the time, a normal mid-20th century American dad. He had also been, by the standards of what we now know about emotional regulation, doing damage in ways he probably never recognized. Both of those things could be true at once. Holding both was hard. The therapist made me do something specifically that I had not expected. She made me write down the specific phrases my father used when he was angry, the exact words, the exact intonations. Then she asked me which ones I had heard come out of my own mouth. It was, when I wrote them down, almost all of them. Most of his phrases were now my phrases. I had been transmitting his template for years without realizing it. The kitchen floor moment had been the first time I had noticed. There had been hundreds of smaller moments before. The work since has been to update the phrases, one at a time, deliberately. The phrase comes up. I notice. I pause. I substitute a different phrase. Over months, the substitution becomes automatic. The new phrase becomes the new template. The old phrase fades. It is slow. It is also working. 6 years in, my daughter does not flinch the way she did that first day on the kitchen floor. The procedures running in my house are different than the ones I was raised on. Not because I willed it, because I worked on it. Now the playbook. 6 moves. They are the moves that have actually moved my needle, and the needles of dads I know who have done this work seriously. Move 1. Map the inherited patterns explicitly. Sit down with a notebook. Write down the specific phrases your father used when he was angry. Write down the specific phrases he used when you disappointed him. Write down the specific tone he used when he was stressed. Be honest. Be specific. Now read the list. Note which ones you have heard come out of your own mouth. Most dads find that the overlap is much higher than they expected. The overlap is the inherited template. You cannot update what you cannot see. Make the inheritance visible. This sounds clinical. It is. The clinical step is the foundation. Without it, the rest of the work has nothing to push against. Move 2. Get a therapist if at all. The fact that Diesels were well born and wondered why someone knew what was part of the world's best end of the city's house, Miana wrote. I delayed this for years because I thought I did not need it. I did. Most dads I know who have tried to do this work without therapy have made slower progress than the ones with therapists. The therapist is not a luxury. The therapist is leverage. If cost is an issue, there are sliding scale providers. If geography is an issue, there are video providers. If you are squeamish, get over it. The therapy is the highest leverage investment in cycle breaking that exists. It pays back, in the kid you are raising, multiples of what it costs. Move 3. The pause and substitute drill. This is the daily work. When you feel the inherited phrase coming up, you pause. You substitute a different phrase, out loud even if it is awkward. The substitution is the rep. Reps build the new template. The substitution does not have to be elegant. I am not going to say what I was about to say. I need a second. That sentence, said in the moment, does several things at once. It interrupts the old template. It models pause and think to your kid. It gives you the half second your prefrontal cortex needs to stay online. Run this drill daily. The reps compound. Move 4. The repair script. After every rupture. We covered this in the role model episode. It applies even more here. After every time the inherited template breaks through, you do the repair. 3 sentences. Eye level with the kid. I lost my temper. That was not your fault. I am working on it. The repair is what your father did not do. The presence of the repair is what marks your generation is different from his. The repair is, in a real sense, the cycle-breaking move itself. The original rupture is something almost every dad does sometimes. The repair is what almost no dad in the previous generation did. Your willingness to do it, repeatedly, after every rupture, is the difference. Move 5. Build new templates from scratch, deliberately. Pick 3 procedures you want to install in your house. The way you respond when something breaks. The way you respond when somebody is upset. The way you respond when you are stressed. Decide, in advance, what you want those responses to be. Most dads have never deliberately decided what their household responses should be. They are running default templates inherited from their childhood. The deliberate decision is the move. Once you have decided, the work is to run the chosen procedure repeatedly until it becomes automatic. You can install a new template through deliberate practice. The practice takes months. The result is permanent. Move 6. The compassion move. Toward your father. This is the move I most resisted, and that turned out to be the most important. At some point in the cycle-breaking work, you will need to find compassion for your father. Not approval, not justification. Compassion. The compassion move recognizes that your father was running templates he had inherited from his own father, who had inherited from his, going back generations. The compassion does not let your father off the hook for what he did. The compassion lets you off the hook for what he did. The hook keeps you stuck in his pattern in subtle reactive ways, even as you try to break it. When you can sit with the truth that your father was a man who had never been given the tools you now have, you can work on those tools without the weight of meeting him to have been different. The work gets lighter. The cycle breaking accelerates. This is one of the harder pieces of the work. It's also one of the most important. Try it when you are ready, not before. Now, the kicker. The kitchen floor moment was, in retrospect, the most important parenting moment I have had so far. Not because of what it revealed about me, because of what it set in motion. The work that followed it has, in measurable ways, changed who my daughter is going to be. She is not going to flinch from her partner the way I would have, by default, because she will not have the template I was running. She is not going to send her own kid into the bathroom to look in the mirror in 20 years. The chain breaks. The chain breaks specifically because of choices I made on a kitchen floor on a Tuesday afternoon when I was 33 years old. The choices were small. They added up. The next dad in our line will inherit a different template. His kid will inherit one even further from the original pattern. 4 generations from now, the family will be running a fundamentally different operating system, and almost nobody in that family will know that the rewrite started here, with me, with the work. That is the leverage. That is the work. That is why this episode matters. Quick replay. The 6 moves. 1. Map the inherited patterns explicitly. Notebook. Specific phrases. 2. Get a therapist. The leverage is real. The investment pays back multiples. 3. The pause and substitute drill. Daily reps build the new template. 4. The repair script after every rupture. The presence of repair is the cycle-breaking move. 5. Install new templates from scratch. Decide on purpose. Practice into automatic. 6. The compassion move. Toward your father. When ready. Not before. Here is the line. The voice that came out of your mouth that you did not recognize was not your voice. It was a voice you inherited decades ago when you were too small to refuse it. The inheritance is real. The inheritance is also reversible. Not by willpower, by work. Do the work. Go to therapy. Map the patterns. Run the drill. Run the repair. Install the new templates. Find the compassion when you can. Your kid is not going to remember the rupture if the repair was clean. Your kid is going to remember a dad who was working on something hard in front of them with honesty. That memory is going to shape their own parenting 20 years from now in ways they will not even fully understand. You are the cycle break. You are the first link in a different chain. 5 generations from now, somebody in your family will be running a pattern you started, and they will not know it. That is okay. The work was its own reason. The kid you are raising is the proof. Do the work. Do it tonight. Make the call to the therapist. Open the notebook. Run the drill tomorrow. Hold the line. The chain breaks here, with you, with the work. Be the dad you needed. Most of us are still figuring out how. The figuring is the job. Here's the part nobody says out loud. There is a version of dad content that skips the ugly middle. It jumps from announcement photo to matching pajamas and pretends the stretch between those 2 points is just a cute montage. That is not how this works. The middle is where you become someone else while still grieving the person you were. If this topic hits a nerve, that is not weakness. That is signal. It means the story is close enough to your actual life that your body recognizes it before your pride can clean it up. The boss fight is not one dramatic moment. It is bedtime after a bad workday. It is the bottle that leaks at 2 a.m. It is hearing your partner sigh and knowing you are both out of health potions. It is wanting 30 minutes to yourself and feeling guilty for wanting it. This is where the gaming metaphor matters. You do not win by pretending the difficulty setting is lower. You win by changing strategy, conserving stamina, and learning the pattern. Tonight, do not try to fix your whole life. Pick one concrete move. Send the apology. Prep the daycare bag. Put your phone in another room for 10 minutes. Ask your partner what would make tomorrow morning 5% easier. Open the calendar. Text one dad friend. Choose the boring action that makes the next level less punishing. The win condition is not perfection. The win condition is one less avoidable explosion tomorrow. Today, the vulnerable truth. A lot of men wait until the feeling becomes anger before they admit they are scared. Scared they are failing. Scared their partner sees them differently. Scared they are becoming their father. Scared they will never feel free again. Scared they love their kid and still miss silence. Say the clean sentence underneath the messy one. I am overwhelmed. I need help. I miss who we used to be. I do not know how to do this yet. That sentence is not a debuff. It is the first useful command. To me, the co-op patch. If there is another parent in the house, the patch is communication before resentment. Not a trial, not a scoreboard, a short sync. What is hard right now, what can move, what cannot move, and what would help before the next crash. Do not wait for the dramatic relationship summit. Healthy co-op is mostly tiny updates before the server catches fire. But the new build can still contain the best parts of you. Curiosity, humor, discipline, tenderness, competitiveness, creativity, the part that wants to teach a small person how to move through the world. You are not deleting yourself. You are respecing under pressure. Number 10, the shame trap. The shame trap says you are the only dad who feels this way. You are not. You are just one of the few willing to say it before it leaks out sideways as sarcasm, distance, scrolling, snapping, spending, drinking, or disappearing into a screen after bedtime. Shame thrives in vague silence. Shrink it by naming the exact sentence. I am jealous of my old freedom. I am scared my partner does not like me anymore. I am angry and then ashamed of being angry. I miss gaming without negotiating for it. Once the sentence is clean, you can actually do something with it. Now The partner. Translation layer, blives. Your partner may not hear the sentence you think you are saying. You say, I need a break, and they hear, you are on your own. You say, I worked all day, and they hear, your day did not count. You say, just tell me what to do, and they hear, please manage one more person. Translate before impact. Try, I'm at 0, and I know you are too. What is the next fair move? That sentence does not solve everything, but it keeps the team from turning on itself. Put the baby somewhere safe. Step into the hallway. Splash water on your face. Say out loud, I am overloaded, not dangerous. Text your partner if you need relief. If you are alone, lower the stakes and slow the room down. Then repair. Repair is the skill. You will not be a dad who never snaps. You can be a dad who comes back, owns it, and teaches your kid that big feelings do not have to become permanent damage. One of the weirdest parts of early fatherhood is watching your old social life keep moving without you. The group chat still fires, the games still launch, the memes still land, but you are holding a bottle in the dark, reading everything hours late, feeling like a ghost in your own life. Do not confuse absence with abandonment. Send the honest message. I am in the trenches, but I still want in. Real friends can adapt. Shallow routines may fall away. That hurts, and it also tells you what was actually built. Number 1, the body check. Before you decide your life is broken, check the body. Have you slept, eaten real food, moved outside, had water, taken 5 minutes without a screen? A lot of existential dread is real, but it gets louder when your body is running on fumes and leftover nuggets. This is not wellness influencer nonsense. This is basic resource management. You cannot run an endgame raid on a red stamina bar and then call yourself weak when you wipe. To me, the screen honesty check. Games can be rest, art, connection, and identity. They can also become anesthesia. The difference is how you feel afterward. Rested, connected, more yourself, good. Numb, avoidant, irritated when interrupted, and resentful of anyone who needs you. That is not rest. That is escape with better graphics. You do not have to quit the thing you love. You have to make it honest again. Technique the father you are. Building your kid is not only watching the heroic moments. They are watching repair, patience, apologies, how you treat their mother, how you handle losing, how you talk about your own limits, and whether screens get more eye contact than they do. That sounds heavy, because it is, but it is also hopeful. You do not need one cinematic speech. You need 1,000 small reps where your child sees a man telling the truth and coming back to the people he loves. Here is the loadout for this week. 1 honest sentence, 1 calendar block, 1 practical chore you fully own, 1 repair conversation, 1 dad-friend touchpoint, 1 no-phone pocket of time with your kid, and 1 protected hour that actually restores you. Do not make it pretty. Make it real. A stable build beats a fantasy build every time. Childcare, rent, groceries, formula, insurance, car repairs, and the quiet pressure to provide can make you feel like you are 1 bad month away from failing everyone. A lot of dads do not call that anxiety. They call it being responsible. But your nervous system knows the difference. Name the pressure without letting it become your personality. Make the spreadsheet. Talk about the bill. Ask for the cheaper option. Cancel the subscription. But also say the true thing. I am scared. Fear that gets named becomes a problem to solve instead of a monster under the bed. At home, everything resets. Everyone needs you. And nobody claps because you remembered wipes. That contrast can make the office feel easier than your actual life. Be careful with that. Your family does not need your polished work mask. They need the man underneath it to come home before there is nothing left of him. I am going to do this differently next time. No courtroom defense. No 5-minute speech about how tired you are. Own the impact first. That kind of apology does 2 things. It repairs the person in front of you, and it trains your own brain to see repair as part of strength instead of humiliation. You need at least 1 person who gets the real version. The guy who loves his kid and still wants to scream into a pillow sometimes. That person might be a brother, a friend, a group chat, a therapist, a neighbor, or another dad at pickup who looks equally cooked. Do not wait until you are heroic enough to ask for connection. Ask while it is awkward. Awkward connection beats polished isolation. To be the future cutscene. Picture the future cutscene for a second. Your kid is older. They remember less of the perfect activities than you think. What they remember is the atmosphere. Did dad come back after hard moments? Did dad listen? Did dad laugh? Did dad apologize? Did dad make me feel wanted even when life was heavy? That is the legacy system you are building. Not a flawless childhood, a trustworthy emotional climate. Number 3, the morning after. The morning after a hard night is where a lot of dads quietly decide what kind of man they are. Maybe you snapped. Maybe you withdrew. Maybe you stared at your phone while your kid tried to get your attention. Maybe you and your partner went to bed facing opposite walls. Do not let the morning after become evidence that you are doomed. Let it become data. What failed? Sleep, planning, food, communication, expectations, support. A good player reviews the wipe and changes the strategy. TOB masculinity patch. A lot of us inherited a broken masculinity patch. Be useful. Be strong. Do not complain. Provide. Protect. Absorb damage. Those are not all bad instincts. The problem is when they become the only buttons available. Your kid needs more than a silent tank. They need a man who can protect and explain, provide and connect, lead and apologize, be strong and still tell the truth about pain. That is not soft. That is a better build. Use the 10-minute reset when the house feels cursed. 10 minutes to clear the counter. 10 minutes to prep bottles. 10 minutes to sit next to your partner with no logistics. 10 minutes on the floor with your kid where you are not half playing and half scrolling. 10 minutes outside. 10 minutes will not fix fatherhood. It will interrupt the spiral. Sometimes that is enough to stop a bad hour from becoming a bad night. 10 minutes on the private scoreboard. Watch the private scoreboard in your head. I did bedtime yesterday. She slept more. I worked harder. I changed the last diaper. Some of those facts may be true, and the scoreboard can still poison the room. Replace the scoreboard with a status check. Who is closest to breaking? What has to happen next? What can wait? What would help the team? Co-op survives when both players stop trying to win against each other. Some of the most powerful fatherhood moments are repairs your own dad never made. The apology, the calm return, the explanation after anger, the hug after conflict, the sentence, "You did not deserve that tone." You may feel ridiculous doing it the first few times. Do it anyway. You are not only parenting your kid in that moment, you are also breaking a pattern that may have been running in the background for decades. Most fatherhood heroism is boring. Nobody makes a movie trailer about washing pump parts, comparing daycare forms, learning the bedtime routine, clipping tiny nails, or staying calm during a meltdown in a parking lot. But boring heroism is what a family is built on. It is the stuff that makes people feel safe. It is the daily proof that love is not just a feeling you announce. It is a system you maintain. Deeple the 1-week challenge. For the next 7 days, I heard my father's voice come out of my own mouth. My 3-year-old made the same face I used to make. Like a real quest. Choose one measurable action each day. 10 minutes of eye contact. One chore owned without being asked. One honest text. One walk outside. One repaired moment. One protected bedtime routine. 1 hour with the controller, the phone, and the anxiety. Doc Trump. 7 small reps will teach you more than one dramatic promise. The game changes when the habits get boring enough to work. Check out the line you repeat. Repeat this line when the week gets ugly. I can be overwhelmed and still be responsible for my next move. That sentence gives you no free pass, but it gives you a handle. It separates the feeling from the behavior. You are allowed to be exhausted. You are allowed to miss your old life. You are allowed to need help. You are not allowed to disappear from the people counting on you. The path is not shame. The path is ownership with support. Checkmark 2. The comment section question. If this is the episode about, I heard my father's voice come out of my own mouth. My 3-year-old made the same face I used to make. The question is simple. What is the thing you thought you were not allowed to admit? Not the polished answer, the real one. The one other dads read and go quiet because they thought it was only them. That is the community layer. One honest comment can give another man permission to stop pretending. You are not behind because this feels hard. It feels hard because it is hard. Fatherhood is not a lifestyle accessory. It is a total operating system migration with no clean install window. Keep the kids safe, repair when you snap. Tell the truth faster. Make tomorrow slightly easier. That is not a small thing. That is the game. If this helped you level up your dad game, smash that like button so other gamer dads can find us. Subscribe to Gamer Dads for practical parenting advice with the millennial gaming twist.